I probably should have mentioned it before we had our moment for our thoughts, especially with our magistrate judge and his family tonight. His mother passed away a few days ago. Keep them in your prayers. Our first order of business is the approval of some minutes. We've had a regular meeting and 3 work sessions, and we need to go through those individually. We had different members present, so commissioners, if you'll look at that, we'll take on the first, our regular business meeting on June 5th. And when ready, I'll take a motion on those minutes, please.
Motion to approve, Chair.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
And I have a second. Any discussion on these? No discussion. All right. We'll start with Commissioner Allen, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Moving right along. June the 6th, we had a budget work session, and again, I'll take a motion to approve those once you've looked at them.
So we do 6 and 12 together.
Motion.
Do we have the same members present?
Same numbers, actually.
Yes, sir.
No. On the 6th and the what? 12. Yeah, that's correct.
6 and 12.
That's correct.
Motion approved, June 6 and June 12.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 6th and June 12th. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any questions on it? All right, Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
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 Very good. And then lastly, our work session on the 13th. I'll wait a motion.
Motion to approve, Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on those minutes? All right, Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right. That is not how long those meetings took to get through, by the way. All right. Business involving guest groups and for multiple visitors. We have a special occasion, and I'd like to go ahead and yield the floor to our sheriff, Michael Miller, please.
I brought a guest to me today, Ms. Ruth Butler. She has been with the Sheriff's Office, I think since 2007,
Yeah.
but she came from 911. Thing about Ms. Rita, I learned a lot from her when she worked in 911 as a deputy. I had a problem with something, I go to her, reason being, she came from other agencies. Ms. Rita has about 40 years of law enforcement experience. She was retired from us here in July. So there I have something to give. Thank you for your service. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. No. There you go. That's better. All right, we'll do a couple more.
Take a few minutes, if you would.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. Rhonda, I've known you since 2007. Lee, you're new. Congratulations. I know it'll be successful for you, Mr. Strickland and Mr. Crow. And Mr. Scarborough came to my last campus graduation at Danielsville.
It makes us longtime friends.
Yes. There was about 101 of those children there for that one. Teresa Bettis is a teacher at Colbert, and Teresa and I worked. We had a lot of fun together. We had a lot of laughs. Mr. Peffel, I know you from seeing you at the meetings, and Mr. Easko, just a wonderful person. Thank you, sir. It's been a real pleasure. Madison County's been really great. I want to wish Michael the best. Like he said, we've worked together for a long time. And I don't know, I know, you're wondering, well, what are you gonna do? I really don't know. I think I'm gonna stay home for a little while. I got a lot of stuff to do in that area. But I have my son tonight with me, Ben and his wife Missy, and Brianna, and Madison, and little Benjamin. So, we plan to go to your pie a lot and do fun stuff. So anyway, thank you again for everything you've done for me.
And that gentleman over in the corner, he belongs to you.
That is my husband. We talk through too, so, we kind of share the thought and stories a lot, laugh together, cry together, so anyway, thank you. You're a wonderful community, and I've enjoyed the 4 years being at every elementary school there is, and the teachers and the staff, and all of them. They were great.
Kids love you.
I love them too. So thank you.
Can you get a family picture? I think that would be really neat.
Sure? Yes. Would you like to come up and get your picture taken? Let's see. Put them on the end. The kids will want it. He just got off work. He came straight, so that's good. Thank you, Rita. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
All right.
Have fun.
Oh, Will.
Enjoy. Thank you. No children. No.
All right, good stuff. And at this point, call on Mr. Marvin White, if you would, for a report on the industrial development building authority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. On the report tonight, the Georgia Renewable Power LLC over Colbert, they have put off the groundbreaking from June till sometime later due to things going on over there. But they are working inside and outside the building, and then the outside of both up at Carnesville on the other side they've got. So they did get approval from the PSC for a 12-month extension on their contract to sell power to Georgia Power Company, and that's been done and approved and all ready to go. So their attorney says that they're on track and they're going to get done on time. So I would expect they need to generate power before that contract time comes up again. The PSC might not be favorable the next time. We've installed water mains along the McCammon North Road to serve Cypress Woods subdivision. We hadn't put anything in there because they haven't done the road, but we did the roadway first, and they understand it's going to build houses along the road there. And then the extension took down Willis Glen Road for that area, and also to serve the Nismo Home Park there. They've had some problems with the water in their system, and they're going to get on the county water. The former Rotary Plastics facility is still available. There's about 70,000 square feet there. The old school building's not too great for usage, but it's got a couple of good buildings, the old gym, and then they built a new building, so they've got high sidewalls and can use a forklift in them. Jacob's Pizza will be holding their chamber coffee on July 20th at 7:30 in the morning. They're on Highway 72, 6376 in Colbert, a new business in this area. We're glad to have them there, and I understand they do deliver too, so that'll be helpful for the business.
They gonna furnish biscuits without coffee.
I'm sorry.
They gonna furnish biscuits without coffee.
Yeah, maybe a little pizza. Yeah. We hope to see the Blazers Wings restaurant open soon here. They got their sign up, and they'll be opening here on 29 north there, going out of Danielsville. So that'll be a great improvement things for Danielsville. The new roundabout tobacco store's open at 2998 there. They've opened up, and we'll be holding a ribbon cutting for the Wing House Grill at August 4th at 2 p.m. They've been open almost a year. This is going to put them close to a year being open, but we had offered to do a ribbon cutting for them, and he finally took us up on it, so we'll be doing that. On August 4th, the Midlake, Georgia held a public hearing this morning on their new facility. They got $1 million grant to build a new building over there. Of course, that was not enough money to build and equip the building. It's going to be a 2-story building, about over 8,000 square feet of floor space in the new building. This will move their corporate office, which Midlake, Georgia's got like 14 counties they serve in northeast Georgia and facilities all over. So they'll move their corporate office into the new facility in the upper floor, and then that will free up quite a bit of space there in that existing building to add to the Zim rooms and things for their existing office there. So that's a good thing. They're applying for a USDA loan, and that's the reason they held the public hearing. They require to have a public hearing on the loan. So what they'll get is about $2.3 million loan, which will give them enough money to pay off the facility and get it on a lower interest rate than long-term debt coverage there. So should be good for them. It's a great business, and we're glad to have it. And again, the headquarters here in Madison County. Thank you. Any questions?
Marvin?
Yes, sir.
Do you guys ever do any, I know you do the coffees and stuff in the morning, but have you ever done any after-hours type stuff, like at the winery or something like that?
We haven't, a number of years ago, we tried that, and we didn't get any participation for it, so.
We got some younger folks in the county, maybe, you know, I know they said they'd be interested in something like that, so.
Yeah.
Maybe just think about it, passing on to the ladies for me.
Okay, I'll pass that on.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right. We'll move into the public hearing on a rezone matter. Capital Resource Management is requesting a rezone for a major subdivision on 18.46 acres located on Diamond Hill Culvert Road on map 58, parcel 57, District 5. Copies of the conditions were available in the Building and Zoning Office. And just a couple of words before we get into this, and I know many of you have been here before and perhaps remember the topic. What I'd like to do is, just by way of protocol, we'll entertain a statement from the Capital Resource Management. We'll hear comments from everybody, both for and in opposition. And at the conclusion, the board will have the opportunity to make a vote on that. Since there are a number of us in the room, if there's a group that has chosen or would allow or has allowed somebody to designate a spokesperson or whatever, it would facilitate perhaps less, whether it's repetition or just repeating the comments. I want to give everybody a chance to speak, is what I'm saying. So try to keep the comments maybe, you know, if it's an individual 3 or 4 minutes, if you can, and then we'll try to get everybody through. With that, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor for Capital Resource Management. If you'd like to come forward and get in.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Johnson here for Corporations and Capital Resource Management. To be clear, we are not enforcing the 10-minute per side rule on the hearing.
I'm sorry?
We are not enforcing the 10 minutes per side rule on the zoning hearing.
It won't be 10 minutes per side, but we'll try to keep it moving along, and if we get any filibustering or whatever, I'll knock it off and we'll move on.
Okay. I would like to reserve some time for rebuttal.
Absolutely.
This matter has been before the commissioners twice. Both rezones from last June and this March are on appeal to the Supreme Court of Madison County. And as a process of that appeal, Capital Resource Management has agreed to 13 conditions on the development of the property proposed by the Board of Commissioners, negotiated between the county's attorneys and me. I have submitted a constitutional challenge today that just reincorporates the one from March and from last June, or July rather, and sets forth in paragraph 3 what those conditions are. These conditions differ from what has been allowed for similar rezones in the area. I do need to make a correction on the record, something I did not realize until today, as I was reviewing my notes. When I mentioned the Cypress Woods rezone, the Adam Swan rezone, I had read from the printout from the tax assessor's page that I presented to the Board of Commissioners that it was 2,188 feet between that development and this one. But today I realized that it said 2.188. So it's actually 2.188 miles. And I did not catch that until today. I have just a copy of the tax map, going through the official record black and white for you, showing the rezone of Cypress Woods in the center. The fish properties rezone on Piedmont Road, which this board approved on May 8th on 80 acres, similar to this proposal and to the Cypress Woods proposal, and the proposed Cadence Springs rezone. I would just like to highlight a few things from the development proposals that we're agreeing to. These were not imposed on the Cypress Woods rezone at all. The only condition on the Piedmont Road rezone for fish properties, which was 71.73 acres for 80 site-built homes on 3/4 acre lots. The only conditions they had was 1,600 square foot one-story homes, 1,800 square foot heated area, two-story homes, and a minimum roof pitch of 5 to 12. That same condition has been agreed to by Capital Resource Management. In addition, extra development restrictions that Capital Resource Management is agreeing to in order to reduce the concerns of the neighbors over this rezone is that it will be 18 lots instead of 20. Although the site plan submitted with the rezone is 20, the development will be substantially the same as submitted in that site plan, except it will be 18 lots. And if the zoning administrator determines that the final or preliminary subdivision plans substantially vary from that original site plan, that plan has to come back before the Board of Commissioners. We've also agreed to establish a homeowners or property owners association with a set of recorded covenants to limit the development to 18 lots or less and reduce the minimum lot size to 7/8 of an acre. And I note on the site plan 3 of the lots are already over an acre in size. The houses have to be site-built with concrete foundations. Mobile and manufactured homes are specifically prohibited from the property. Vinyl siding is prohibited, although vinyl windows and trim are allowed. There is an additional 20-foot buffer within 20-foot rear yard setback where there are existing houses that abut improved tracks. I'm sorry, where the houses to be built abut already improved tracks that have houses. The eastern boundary will have a 30-foot undisturbed buffer. There will only be one lot allowed driveway access to Diamond Hill Culvert Road. The others will be by a road built into the subdivision. There will also be a recorded no access easement along Diamond Hill Culvert Road. None of those conditions, except for the square footage and roof pitch, were imposed on any of the other subdivisions that the Board of Commissioners have approved. The Reliant Homes rezone on page 3 of my challenge, I have just listed the Reliant Homes rezone next to the Pridgeon rezone. Both Reliant and Adam Swan Cypress Woods were from A1 to R1, a larger change in zoning designation. This is from A2 to R1. Smaller acreage, 18.5 acres, with 7/8 of an acre lots, and only up to 18 site-built homes. We've agreed to these conditions in order to lessen the impact on the community, and we respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners approve this rezone application. If there are any questions at this time, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I will do so if there are questions raised during the final closing. Thank you. Yes, sir.
You left 4 out.
Pardon?
That's 7, 8, 12, and 13.
Oh, I was only reading the ones, that these conditions have been available for public review. I only read the ones that differ from the other subdivisions. Some of these are already in the ordinance, in the planning and subdivision regulations, and I didn't see a need to address those. But thank you for pointing that out.
I'll just follow along.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Victor. All right. This time I'll ask if there's anyone present here that would like to speak in favor of this rezone.
I'll speak in favor of it. I'm Jake Ridgeon, but I think he hit all the highlights, and we'll let it stay at that. If y'all have any questions later, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right, thank you, Jim. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this rezone? Very well. Is anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to the rezone? If you will, just to help our clerk, if you'd mention your name and the street address, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, John King, my address is 1211 Diamond Hill Culvert Road. Indeed, we have been here twice, and the arguments that we just heard Victor espouse, if you will, do not address zoning. Nothing has changed related to zoning. And in fact, your code 14.3.9.1 specifically states existing uses of zoning on nearby properties. I argued this in March. If you drive down Diamond Hill Culvert Road, no subdivisions are in that area, and everything is either on 5 acres or currently an A1 designation. There are R1 designations as well. But we believe this is going to be an extreme disruption, if you will, to this community. And then, additionally, I understand that, I believe it was June 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission made a recommendation to dissolve the Culvert Overlay District. But again, tonight, the Culvert Overlay District still is in effect. And we know, again, in Madison County Code, a set of zoning requirements that is superimposed upon a base district. Development of land subject to overlay zoning requires compliance with the regulations of both the base and overlay districts, goes right back to the A1 designation. And I think the other thing that you have to clearly acknowledge is, if for whatever reason you decide to approve the rezone, figuratively, a Pandora's box very well may have been opened. If you decide July 10th to get rid of the Culvert Overlay District, and you approve this rezone, then what is to prevent additional subdivisions built along this area which currently do not exist? I encourage you, the arguments are the same, I encourage you, please do not rezone this property. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David Hazinski. I live in 1860 Brush Creek Road, and like John, we've been before you before. I think this is the 5th time I've spoken to different groups here, which I find very sad that we've had to do this from a community 5 different times. I don't want to waste your time. You've heard most of these arguments. We've articulated them earlier. I want to point out what's changed since we talked to you earlier. And what's changed is you now have a much better grasp of the finances of the county. You have had a chance to take a look at the books. You know that we're in close to a deficit situation. We may have to do a transportation SPLOS. You know the school district may have to do another SPLOS. You know that that's because we have almost no retail, and we haven't put a sewer system in, and everything is on the property owners. You have a good handle on that. You also know from a meeting earlier this year with the poultry producers from Professor Jeff Dorfman that it takes a house of value of between $150,000 and $170,000 to pay county taxes. You know it takes a house of about $300,000 to pay county and school taxes. This is a mismatch. As soon as we get this going, if you approve this, you have a pretty good idea that everything else will end up being zoned on both sides of it, and we'll take precedence like the attorney did and say, look, you zone these, you have to zone these. This means what you are doing is creating a situation where the county is building more and more houses that have to be subsidized by everyone else. It's simple math, ladies and gentlemen. It's very simple. You're in a hole, you're digging yourself deeper, and you're creating a situation of precedent where you're not going to be able to get out of it. This isn't working, so the only way to do this is stop. You have two alternatives in front of you. You can not rezone, and then the capital development has the perfect right to build 3 or 4 houses on that lot. There'll be 5-acre lots, it's already zoned for that. They would generate about $300,000, and they would pay their fair share, and we wouldn't have to subsidize it. All these people here would not have to subsidize it. You wouldn't either. Or we can build this development, and then we'll have to subsidize it. The argument that this is helping lower-income people, we talked about at the Planning Commission meeting last week. Mr. Moon, one of the the poultry guys, said most of the housing that's being built is going to people moving into the county. So the choice is, do you want to build more houses for people moving into the county that everybody else is going to have to subsidize, or do you want to build houses that will contribute to the tax base on a fair level? I think those are the simple choices you have in front of you. I know you're trying to save the cost of a lawsuit and litigation. Balance that cost against the cost of all of us subsidizing these properties for decades. We already do it now, you know that. You have to stop. This is the place to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to come forward?
Yes, I'm Frank Churchman. I live at 1400 Brush Creek Road. And I just came to remind you that you got a chance to peruse the petition that we offered you last time. It's got approximately 190 names on it that are opposed to this development. And what's going to keep anybody from anywhere from moving in and putting up a piece of property or something on 8.875 acres if this goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to speak in opposition? Wait, we've got 2 people here. We'll get you next, sir.
My name is Sue Stone, and I hope my voice holds up, so if you can't understand me, let me know. I have a special interest in this because I'm a former school teacher. And I've looked into the school situation, and I know Ms. Bettis should know about this too. But the 2 schools in this county that are at capacity or over capacity are Hull, Sanford, and Culvert. I talked to Mr. Wagner this morning, and in Culvert they have 39 lots that they're planning to put, I think it's mobile homes on, but that's being developed. This would be 20 or 18 lots. I'll go back to that. But around 60 lots will be added this year or so that are definitely Culvert School District. If you only count 1 school child per every 2 of those houses, you're putting in a classroom or more into that school. And you've already mentioned 2 other subdivisions. I think that you have to really stop and look at what you are doing to those schools. And you have to consider what he said. Who is paying for the schools? Are the people that are going to be moving into these paying for the schools? Not at the rate that they're going. This is going to be a domino effect. You're going to keep saying, well, we rezoned that, so we have to rezone that. And you're just going to keep building and building the same kind of housing. And I'm not opposed to being housing from beginning or starting families or low-income housing. But I'm saying that the county needs to look at and balance the need for all kinds of housing. And once you start something in one area, you're not going to find people that are going to build up. They're going to build at that level or they're going to build down. And I think you really have to stop and think. I talked to someone on the school board. people in the group and not me. I've talked to principals in the area, and they're all very concerned about the building, and specifically, we are concerned about this 20 lots.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Danny Stewart. I live at 933 Diamond Hill Culvert Road. 18 houses on 18 point something acres is a lot. 18 septic tanks is a lot. You can't tell me that that many houses, that many septic tanks on that little bit of land would not cause some problems. I really think it would. The land was purchased, and knowingly purchased under agricultural. I understand that, you know, everybody wants to make a profit, but I think we should keep it at agricultural. 3 to 4 houses on that plan would be sufficient, and agreeing with everybody else. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Clark Gully. I live at 824 Brush Creek Road. I also addressed this board the last time this matter was before it, and I challenged Mr. Johnson's position on this, and this time he says this is a constitutional challenge. And I just listened very carefully to what his challenge is to the constitutionality of the current zoning being A2. In order for him to successfully bring a constitutional challenge, he has to show this board that your use of the police power of the state is injuring him in some way. I didn't hear any injury. All I heard was, y'all did it over here to these folks, y'all did it over here for those folks, you did it over here for these folks, so now do it to me. And that doesn't rise to the level of an injury to say, everybody else got a rezone, so I should too. That is not the standard. The standard is they have to prove an injury. So far, what we know is that he wants to put 18 lots, 18 houses on a plot of land that is currently zoned okay for there to be 5. There is no prohibition right now for him to go and build 5 houses on that property. That is what the current zoning would allow, and that would be a profit to him. I guarantee you, if he put 5 houses and built them, he'd make a profit on that land. But he wants to make more profit than 5. So what he's saying to you in essence is, I want to make the most profit that I can, and if you don't let me, I'm not going to make as much profit. Just as I argued last time, there is a bright line rule that says that a significant detriment is not established by evidence only that it would be difficult for the owner to develop the property under its existing zoning, or that the owner will suffer an economic loss unless the property is rezoned. That's the situation we had last time. That's the situation we had this time. I don't see anything different in the changes to the application where it added setbacks and increased the size of the lot. I don't see any of that curing that bright line rule that's established by the courts in the state of Georgia. So I would ask that you not be intimidated by the threats of a developer who says, if I don't get my way, I'm going to sue you. That ain't the way we ought to be doing business. That ain't the way we ought to be doing business, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else like to speak in opposition?
My name's Adam Stewart. I live at 1041 Diamond Hill, Colorado Road. I've told my story 2 or 3, 4 times. I'm not really sure how many times, but I won't waste any more time with that. I'll remind the board that in the last couple of years I've had 2 new neighbors pop up. I can see their houses from my front porch. They each bought 5-acre lots. They each built houses that are in standing with our community. They kept everything intact, no problems there. I'd like to remind you also, the point's already been made, but Mr. Pridgeon bought the property knowing that it was zoned A2. It was a business risk. We talked about that, and they're expecting all of us to just say, okay, do what you will with our community. That's not the way things should work, I don't believe. Mr. Gully made a great point that wants more profit. The current zoning allows for 3 to 4 houses, I'm not sure which, that would be in perfect fitting with our community. None of us would have a problem with that, I believe. I can confidently say that. To me, that'd be a fine profit. That'd be a great profit. It's maybe not the 18 houses. It's not 18 houses, but you know, it's an agreement that everyone can we're all in on. We're good with that. I'd like to add that, you know, I spoke last time. I live in a modular home. I'm not the type that's going to talk about someone's housing. I live in a small house. I'd like to add that I don't have money for lawyers to throw around. I don't have money for fees for any of this stuff. I don't have anyone to protect me that I can buy. What I have is I have y'all. I have y'all to protect me. Y'all are all I have at this point. So I would like to just remind you that you know, this property is one of many for this company. It's a drop in the bucket. My home, our community, all my eggs are in this basket. My family, my son's future. It's all in one basket. We don't want to see the precedent set to one day sell my land and come before you guys and say, hey, I want to put in who knows how many houses. I mean, that precedent will be set. I just want to remind you that the board has done the right thing twice. I don't know how many votes it's going to take. The next letter we get in the mail that says we're voting on this again, I mean, it's another punch in the stomach. Think of it as your homes. Think of what would happen if this popped up right next to you. Change the landscape forever of where you've grown up, of where you want to raise your children. It changes everything for more and more profit when the way it's zoned now will be plenty of profit. So again, you guys are my protection, and I need you. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition?
I'm Tricia Adams, and I spoke to you the last 2 times this has come up, and I'm not going to say the same thing I said then. I'm just asking that Mr. Pridgeon please consider cutting down the number of houses that he wants to put on this small piece of land, and that if y'all do approve it, that he would agree to maybe put some kind of a privacy boundary between our land and his, if that would be a consideration, in the form of maybe a privacy fence or road trees or something of that nature. I would like very much just to see a few houses built on this land instead of 18 houses crammed right together with that many septic tanks, and the runoff from these construction of these houses coming right down on our property, around our wells, and that it's a beautiful piece of land. I'd like to see it, especially the woods and the creek, preserved like it is now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Judy Parham. I live at 1090 Low Road, Comer, and I haven't spoken to you before about this, but I have been following the budget situation for the county, and I know it's pretty much a crisis, right? We don't have enough. We're spending more on services than we're bringing in taxes. Every one of these houses you approve you're gonna be spending more on services than you're bringing in taxes. When you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there anybody else would like to speak in opposition? Anyone else? Last call. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I will address these concerns. Let me start by quoting something said by the Executive Director of the Industrial Development Authority for February 2nd, 2017. Madison County Industrial Development and Building Authority Director Marvin White reported to the Board of Commissioners. New homes are under construction in several existing subdivisions. When these homes under construction are completed, most subdivisions will be full. I did not raise issues of damages and harm to my client today that were raised in July and in March and in the process of the lawsuit, because those issues have already been raised. In the hearing in March, we had a developer here saying he is trying to find homes for veterans. He is a veteran, and he is having difficulty finding homes in Madison County that are affordable homes for veterans. I also presented to you information from the U.S. Census Bureau. I believe it was adjusted to 2014 numbers, that the average family household income, median, not mean, median means in the middle, $43,000. When Douglas stated he had looked into what it takes to borrow money to buy a starter home or a home, and with a median income $43,000.
That's median's a point, doesn't take in the outliers.
Correct. Median is what's in the exact middle. If you have a billionaire living in your county and you look at the median income, we're all going to be millionaires. If you look at the mean income, if you look at the median income, that's what's in the middle.
Midpoint.
Correct. That's the correct way to look at income. Because otherwise, people who have more income are going to influence average income up. We're not looking at average income, we're looking at individual family household income. There is a need in this county for starter homes and beginning homes. There are similar subdivisions in this area half a mile away, and these were numbers I measured with a scale on a map, not by misreading the tax assessor printout. In Calvert Southwinds subdivision and Kirsten Court subdivision are the same lot sizes, same type of homes, same price of homes as we're proposing here. 1,300 feet to Southwinds from this area, 2,356 feet to Kirsten Court from this area. 28 lots in that subdivision of the same type of home. We presented in March photos and average house values, not lot values, but house values of the same type of homes. The homes proposed for this subdivision, even before the conditions were done, back in July of 2016, were the same type of homes as you find along Calvert-Danielsville Road. They're not Brush Creek homes. They're not $300,000 homes. We're not a $300,000 home community. The study people keep talking about that say you got to have $180,000 homes to pay for services, I've read that study. I have that study. It was done, I think University of Virginia and the UGA Ag Department did that. But they did not look at certain things in that study, one of which was, what about the money people who move into this county are going to spend in this county? What about if these people have jobs in this county and they move here? All it looked at was, how much revenue do you make from property taxes from this value house? And what is the average cost to provide fire and police and emergency services and county government for that value house? We're not an elitist county. We need a reality check here. Our median income for a family is $43,000. We've got to provide homes for that type of people, starter homes. When my wife and I moved to this county in 1987, it was a starter home. We were 25 years old. And as we drove down Calvert-Danielsville Road into Calvert going into Athens, it was all pastures. Now there are several subdivisions along the way. That's just the price we pay for progress, for moving forward in time. population is going to increase. We're much better off having stick-built starter homes for people to move into. There are 5 homes allowed in the A2 district. It's 5-acre lots. For an 18-acre, it's not 5 homes. But Mr. Gully said it's 3 homes. 1 home per 5 acres. We have raised other issues at earlier hearings before this board on what potential damages are from not allowing the rezone. Our main issue now is an equal protection challenge, because 2 subdivisions of between 70 to 80 homes have been allowed, same type of area, same type of rezone, except these were more extreme. They weren't from A2, they were from A1. Our property is surrounded by RR and A1 and A2, and back before the recession hit, right behind this property, there were over 100 acres that were rezoned for very high density R1 development. But then when the recession hit, all of the subdivisions in Madison County went away. R1 is the least impact for high density homes, and this is a high density area, as are the other 2 subdivisions. We're not asking for R2 or R3, we're just asking for an R1 rezone, just like the other subdivisions have been allowed. If you say you don't want a business to make profit, you're saying you don't want business. People don't buy property and build homes to lose money. At least that's not development. You buy property and build homes to provide housing and to make a living at that time. The landscape is changing, and it's going to be changing. It's changed since my wife and I moved here 30 years ago. That's just the nature. When you live near highways and you live near major transportation corridors, more people are going to move there, and that's where you want your people to be. The issues about septic tanks, construction runoff, all of that has to do with subdivision development, development regulation, erosion and sedimentation controls. All the cases say that's not addressed at zoning, that's addressed at subdivision approval and building approval for building permits. As to the zoning amendment criteria that this board considers, I'll go through them. The first one, 14391, is what are the existing uses and zoning of nearby property? There is residential use along this road. There's our property along this road. Just like the other 2 subdivisions, you have a mix of agricultural and residential. How will property values be diminished by the current zoning? Well, the current zoning is agricultural, and that reduces property values. This proposed subdivision will increase property values for the average homeowners because it will have more homes in the area in the $120,000, $140,000 range. The issue of the destruction of property values for the individual property owner, that refers to the applicants. Will requiring the prisons to keep their property A2 promote health, safety, and morals regarding population density and effective community facilities. 18 homes versus 3 is not that big an impact when you compare it to 80 homes versus 20, which was the Cypress Woods subdivision. Environmental impact is low because septic tanks will have to meet the new requirements. The State Department of Health has increased their requirements for minimum acreage and septic tanks. They've got to meet the requirements before a septic tank is allowed. Effect on adjoining property values, this will increase most adjoining property values because it will be a residential subdivision with higher value than current use. What are the relative gains to the public of denying an 18-home subdivision compared to the hardship on the individual property owner of requiring it to stay agricultural? That's really the balancing act that we've been talking about this past year. Length of time the property has been vacant as zoned. It's been vacant since zoning was adopted 23 years ago. Consider that, you're supposed to consider that in the context of land development in the area, in the vicinity of the property. The 2 subdivisions in Calvert, South Winds and Kirsten Court, were put in the last 15 to 20 years. Cypress Woods has just now put in their water. They were just approved in January. What is the conformity or divergence from land use plan? This is in conformance with the land use plan because this is currently the high-density residential area. That's where you want your residential subdivisions, near highways, near cities, where you have amenities, stores, etc., so people don't travel as far, and you have people closer to emergency services. What are the availability of adequate sites for this proposed use in districts that permit the use? Well, in February, Marvin White, Industrial Development Authority, Executive Director, told this board, our subdivisions are full, we need more subdivision lots. And you've approved 150 lots on 2 subdivisions, but there's going to be more need than that for residential housing. What's the suitability of the site relative to requirements of the zoning ordinance, parking setbacks, buffer zones, open space? This meets all the requirements in the subdivision regs, and we've added additional conditions, 11 of them, to reduce the concerns of the neighbors. And finally, and this is similar to an earlier one, what's the extent to which this is consistent with the Madison County Comprehensive Plan? It's very consistent with the Madison County Comprehensive Plan, because the Comprehensive Plan today says this is where we want our high-density residential development. This lot, right here, should be R1, R2, or R3. That's what your plan says. I wasn't overly thrilled when residential subdivisions cropped up in my neighborhood after we moved to Madison County, but that is part of what happens. That's called private land use and land rights. The questions are proposing adds more protection to this area in this neighborhood than the Cypress Woods or the Fish Properties rezones that this board has approved. We're simply asking that we be treated the same as the others. But in addition to that, we're agreeing to a number of conditions that are not required in order to lessen the impact of this home. If we don't provide affordable housing, we won't get young people moving into this county. We'll go elsewhere. As Jared said, the realtor who is trying to find homes for veterans in the area, he can't find homes in Madison County. Then we go to Jackson. Why? Because you can't afford a $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 home when you start out. Some people never can. But if we put affordable housing in that people can start out in, we're giving them a leg up in life. A way to move up from rental housing or lower quality housing, and to improve their family security and well-being, their sense of belonging, and their sense of community in the neighborhood. We respectfully request that with these conditions we've agreed to, this rezone be approved so that this property can be developed for single-family homes. If you have any questions, I or Mr. Pridgeon will be glad to answer. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll open a special session until this. And again, to re-emphasize the motion of the rezone issue, Capital Resource Management is requesting a rezone for a major subdivision, 18.46 acres located on Diamond Hill Culvert Road, map 58, parcel 57, District 5. We'll entertain a motion at this point.
Mr. Chairman, since this falls in my district, I feel it's my obligation to make a motion one way or the other. And I've done a lot of thinking on this. I really have. And if it gets done, it's going to get done without me. I'll make a motion to do that now.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
To deny, I have a second. Is there any discussion?
Chairman, do you know, this might be a long question, but do you know right off the top of your head how many lots that Adam's already lost on his? Started out with 80, I think. Last time I checked, he's down to about 74 or 5 lots. He's lost a few lots. 75 or something.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This application was turned in before the moratorium, correct?
It was.
Okay. We got a new land use plan that's come up since then with much more stringent subdivision regulations that we'll be voting on the 10th. Be it that we did not have that in place when this application was submitted. What is your feeling, Mr. Councilman, of our chance, I guess, that we would be getting litigation with the situation?
Not a question I usually get asked out here, but I don't know.
Sir?
It's probably not a good question to answer at this point in time.
I think these people deserve to hear it because they pay taxes. It'll be their money that we'll be wasting if it is in fact a waste.
Well, I think it's clear, though, that the rules that were in place when the petition or when the application was filed are that's the rules that should be governing the discussion. And for any proposed changes or whatever, that's exactly what they are at this point. They're proposed. So, for those constraints that were in place, that's what I would say that's what you need to consider.
That are in place, honey.
Correct.
And I just made points down through here, you know, we've got new regulations coming forward. I agree on both sides. As Victor said, I think it's dangerous to comment on how much a man should be able to profit. But I'm against sprawl, I'm against the hardships on the schools and the county. There again, you're talking about needing affordable housing for people in our county, and 90% of the people moving into the county are moving into these houses are moving in from other places. If we bring more business into the county, you know, we talk about community. We talk about these people spending money in the county. If we want to talk about community and keeping things as it is, but then we spend every bit of our paycheck in Athens. Do we really have a sense of community? Do we? Yeah. And I'm asking a question, I'm going back and forth. If we bring new business in our county, will you patronize it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. I think about what business is looking for too, rooftops and things like that, but, you know, people do matter.
I'm not a fan of subdivisions. I don't want y'all to know, even though we're really business fly business, I voted for a moratorium to hit subdivisions and chicken houses. We lost potential millions on chicken houses. That's what's good for our county. What is good for our county in this situation? That's what I'm asking y'all. If we don't want to dig in a deep hole, or we're going to dig it deeper in litigation, I don't know. There's no good answer to this.
We have a motion on the floor to deny the application, deny the rezone, and we have a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just one more comment.
Please.
As we go through our work sessions and we talk about our new updated subdivision regs and things like that, really need to think about those impact fees too. That is one way that some counties are offsetting that cost, and that would go straight to the builder. That wouldn't go to the homeowner. That would be the builder would have to pay that, so they would actually take care of some of that. And I just wanted to make that comment so we don't lose sight of that going
the fact is, we've had 4 or 5 rezones come in under the wire. This is before we have the new regulations that we hopefully will pass. There's not much we can do about this. But we can keep it from things that we don't want to happen from happening in the future going forward. This is an inheritance. Be it good or be it bad. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad situation, and I'm not saying it's going to be a great situation. But it's a hard situation.
I personally don't like to compare properties. I mean, the other properties are about 4.5 times the size of this A2. So that's one thought of mine.
The density is...
Okay, I know. This map is beautiful, and it's on the very, very outer edge of high density. The subdivisions you're talking to are in the incorporated area, is that correct? Incorporated?
Yes.
Okay, this is unincorporated, that's what I want to focus on. So we have, you know, that's what we man and we try to do. But, you know, I don't like to compare properties. I think it's a very authentic area. And, you know, the I did this research, and the areas around it are the average 2.12 acres, you know, down that road. A1 has 262 acres, 23.85 average acres, and the A2s average 17.52 in that area.
Any further discussion? Ready to vote?
Can I make a substitute motion?
You can.
Everything remains the same, but a minimum 2-acre lot.
Okay, I have a substitute motion that all these conditions that were mentioned, is that what you're referring to? I'll see specifically which one it was that talked to that. There you go. So item number 4, lots with a minimum of 3/4 of an acre. No, I'm sorry, 7/8 of an acre. We have a motion that these conditions, with the exception of item 4, and item 4 being replaced with a lot minimum of 2 acre. That's the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Just to clarify, Mr. Chair, that's a motion to approve the rezone with conditions 1 through 13, but changing number 4 to a 2-acre minimum.
That is correct. That is correct.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept these conditions as presented, with the exception of item 4, and the lot size being changed from a minimum of .875 to 2 acres. Is there any further discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask for clarification?
Please.
That would leave both lawsuits still pending on appeal.
I believe that's correct.
That is correct. Now, what posture it leaves them in, or what amendments, or what, but the only commitment from the applicant is to dismiss those suits if the rezone is approved with the conditions precisely as written. That's, I think, the point Mr. Johnson's making.
That is correct.
Any further discussion on this substitute motion? Okay, we'll go for a vote on the substitute motion first. We have to back our way out of this. So the motion on the floor is to approve the rezone with conditions presented except for item 4, minimum lot size would be 2 acres. We'll start the voting with Commissioner Pepple.
No.
No.
Yes.
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 And at that point, I don't know that the preceding motion,
That renders it moot.
I think that takes that, you know, since the approval was to approve for the majority vote, the initial motion to deny the rezone is off the table now. to capital resource management, then the decision was that the conditions as submitted with the lot size being increased to 2 acres. And I assume you're wondering with respect to that. All right. All of you who wish to continue. We'll give you just, if those of you who are leaving, if you'll take about 30 seconds and please clear the room and we'll continue on. Okay, we're about to get started back on the agenda items, so if you're going to say, if you would, we'll go ahead and ask everybody to please hold the chatter. At this point, we'll entertain statements, remarks from any citizen on agenda items 7 through 10. Items 7 through 10. Does anybody wish to make a comment or statement on those items? Seeing none. Item number 7, consider contract with Penn Credit to recover funds on outstanding out-of-state citations. Judge Cross, if you'd come forward, please, sir.
Good afternoon.
Closer to evening now.
It is. My goodness. How you doing, your kids? Good. Heard you've been down there all day? All day. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and I'll keep this very brief, what this is a contract between Penn Credit and the county to try to civilly collect on out-of-state traffic citations. Currently, we probably have in excess of 60 out-of-state citations where the defendant has either come into court, pled guilty, and we've given them a little bit of time to take care of it, and they never come back, or simply the deputy wrote a citation or the trooper wrote a citation to an out-of-state offender and they never showed up for court. Our problem is if, on an out-of-state offender, if we were to issue an arrest warrant for a failure to appear, the state isn't going to spend the money to extradite that person from out-of-state back to Georgia. So most of the time we never see these people again. This simply would allow for Penn Credit to try to civilly recover the original fine amounts on these citations that are written to offenders out of state. And I guess what I'm asking for is the board's blessing to contract with Penn Credit to be able to do that.
What percentage do you collect? What percentage?
We collect 100% of our original fine amount. Penn Credit would assess a percentage, I'm sorry.
What would that percentage be?
I can't remember the exact percentage. 40%. I believe it is 40%. Of the original fine.
State reader. Well, Jim Cross and I have read this once or twice before we got here. You don't know what kind of collection rate they have, do you?
I do not. I know that several years ago we used a different credit agency to go after outstanding citations, and they had a pretty good rate. I can't say what their rate is.
You got no means of collection now, collecting these people that have flown the coop?
Absolutely none, other than an outstanding warrant, an arrest warrant, and again, they won't extradite on a misdemeanor.
So it's 40% or nothing.
There's no charge to the county.
6%.
Yeah,
That's right, no charge to the county.
if they don't collect.
That's what does civilly collect mean?
It means that they, Mike, you want to elaborate?
Sure, two hour and a half.
Well, it's as if it's a debt that hasn't been sued on, or even if it has been, but there's no criminal penalties that can be attached to that. So they're purely trying to collect it using whatever proceedings are available to collect a debt you owe to the bank or anyone else. Is that fair enough?
That is, and once it's taken care of, once Penn Credit sends us a check for the amount of the original fine, then that does away with the case, and the county gets the money.
60%.
What's it?
We get 60%.
No, we get 100%. 100%.
40%
They add on 40%.
Oh, they get 40% from the
Very right.
That's right, I guess so. Not from the county. So the county gets 100% of the original fine.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Everybody say so.
All right, so I'll dispense with asking for it. We have a motion to approve and a second to approve the judge here to pursue a contract with Penn Credit Corporation to collect from out-of-state fines. And any other discussion? Commissioner Eastcombe?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was easy.
That was very easy.
Good.
Thank you. Next item is to consider lease agreement with Department of Community Supervision, formerly known as the Department of Corrections. A kinder, gentler world. You have in your information there the proposed contract from the Department of Community Supervision. This contract was to expire at the end of June this year, Friday, as it turns out, and they're asking for a renewal, but in their proposed contract, I'll just point you to about 2 or 3 changes here, and what I'm looking for in this is whether the board wishes to continue with a lease agreement with this, with the Department of Community Supervision. Okay, item number 2, the rent utility. I just want to highlight the fact that they currently pay $1 a year, if that, to the county to occupy what is our, basically half of the county extension office. So they pay no utilities, they pay no rent. Again, just want to make sure that everybody's clear of the current circumstance. Item number 7. They currently have a 90-day written notice of cancel. They have a 90-day notice of cancellation. What they're asking for is 120 days. Their claim is it takes a little longer than 90 days to vacate. Okay, that's just, yeah. And then lastly, item number 13, and this would be on page 3. There's a sentence there that probably carries more merit than the rest of the comments here. About 5 lines down into item number 13, it says, accordingly, landlord further recognizes and acknowledges and does hereby consent to tenant's sublet of the premises or any portion thereof, as well as the assignment of this agreement to an occupying agency without obtaining landlord's consent. So long as the tenant gives landlord prior written notice thereof. They want to sublet property they pay no rent on, and would like dedicated janitorial services is embedded in here. There's a number of things. Yeah, and actually, I wrote the first part of item 2, and I did have it highlighted, I just didn't read, tenant shall cause occupying agency, they will cause us to be responsible for all telecommunication services, and that we will provide, or that we will be responsible for all other expenses.
What they're trying to get kicked.
Yeah, we pay, in addition to them not paying rent, we pay the utilities.
Right, so,
Mr. Chairman, may I make the motion?
I have no,
Go ahead. I make the motion, we do not, since we're in the in-county lease agreement with them.
Okay.
Can I second?
You may say.
Thanks.
So, if I have a correct motion in a second to, not renew the contract, which will by default, well, I recommend by default, we will notify them of our intent.
90 days to.
Okay, they will have 90 days. Any other discussion?
Chairman, I think they'll come back with something where they actually pay rent and utilities.
I'm serious about it. As a matter of fact, I'm not, at this point, I'm probably, that's not even the offer on the table, so.
Yes, sir.
Have a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. And as was the case with the one we just discussed, these next 2 items, I should have mentioned that our counselor here has looked and has been through these contracts as well, so it's not just my eyes on it, I want you to be aware they've been reviewed. So the next one is consider a 2017-2018 agreement with the Public Defender's Office. As several of you are aware already, there was some discussion last year regarding our Madison County's contract or their participation in contract with the Public Defender. Public Defender provides representation to indigent and those otherwise unable to provide legal representation. The change largely centers around payment. And on the second page, you see the breakdown, a particular note. It's a total at the top, it's a monthly in that second column, and it just breaks down each county and the 5-county judicial circuit, the northern circuit. This shows Madison County's portion, and it's based on caseload, if I understand it, or...
It is, and that is the change. We had been the beneficiaries for many years of using a cumulative rolling average that never dropped off over the years, in which we had a lower caseload compared to the other 4 counties in the circuit. The other 4 counties were increasingly vocal. They pushed it to the brink last year and agreed to not implement it that year, with the expectation that we would implement a 5-year rolling average, not a total cumulative going back to 2004, I think. So that's what the numbers are based on this year.
And I don't know that I remember it being in, I'm sure it's not in this contract here, but for fiscal 2017, the amount I believe was, I had it at 88,000. Does that sound?
That sounds right.
Approximately 88,000. And now,
I'm sorry, I think that may have been that point this out.
No, I was just going to point out that the current amount, as you can see, if there would be 111,000 is Madison County's portion in that.
Okay. Now, the trade-off here is that Madison County had been supplying, at its expense, an employee to the Public Defender's Office who recently retired, and the Public Defender has not asked that she be replaced at our expense or anyone's expense. So that's an expense that's dropping off the county's books, and I haven't done the addition and subtraction. I suspect it's a net wash, if not a slight benefit to the county when you subtract that salary.
Well, you know, I'm gonna say something. Actually, that position never should have been created.
Yeah.
So apparently we're getting an increase in funding, but it's not washed.
I believe,
The
yes.
position never should have been created. Therefore, we're going up about $20-some thousand in funding. And do we think that's necessary?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's actually not going up on on his total budget at all. So, he's holding expenses steady, not replacing that employee who's lost. So there's not much more you can ask from the public defender's office. It's just totally a matter of calculating the portions that are payable by each county.
So that $110,749.33 would be a fair calculation of what
That's based on...
Regardless of what that position was at.
Correct. That calculation is solely based on caseloads of each county over the past 5 years.
Admin fee, 4%, $10,000.
You may or may not recall back in 2004, the state, up until 2004, indigent defense fell entirely on the shoulders of counties. In 2004, the state promised us that they would take care of all of that. They've taken care of a portion of it, and it is a net benefit. Counties still end up paying a lot. One of the details of that is all employee contracts go through what was then created, the Indigent Defense Council. That's not the Georgia Public Defender Standards Council. And they get 4% fee.
So what we're looking for tonight, there was a vote on it's a resolution to approve the agreement with the Public Defender's Office, and it would be to support them in the amount of that $110,749.33. So we have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any further discussion on this agreement with the public defender? Hearing none. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
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 All right. So the last item on our new business tonight is to consider a work detail agreement with the Georgia Department of Corrections. I mentioned this in the past, and it may have been in a work session, I'm not sure, but this came to light recently as well as a contract with the Department of Corrections for inmate detail from Whitworth. They provide a crew, and again, in the work detail agreement, you have all the information. What has changed is at the end of course, this is due to be renewed July the 1st, and the Department of Corrections has notified us that there's still a charge for an officer, a correctional officer, that we have been paying at $39,500 per year. Their new requirement is that we now provide them a vehicle to transport from Whitworth to Madison County. And of course, I just want to point out that the arrangement we have right now guarantees nothing as far as any particular, 3 days a week or whatever is really at the discretion as it turns out to for the facility there to send as many or as little. They have a maximum here of 10 inmates that would work. I'm sorry, I'm calling them inmates, offenders, that would serve on that. What I want to offer for your consideration is this would be an increase to the county for the cost of a vehicle. Our sheriff Sheriff Moore has, we've been in conversation since I last spoke with you, and he has agreed to provide this service. Again, he would have to have an additional officer, and there would have to be a vehicle as well. The thought being, if it's going to be paid, we'd like to see that in our county. Might as well. This also helps. There is a contract with inmates as far as their time as an inmate. They can agree to be a part of an inmate detail, and it reduces the total time they serve. So it benefits them. It is actually a way for us to make use of their time as well. Having said that, he's agreed, since we're in the budgeting process and everything, he's agreed to wait till our fiscal year rolls around January 2018 to request the money for the correctional officer. That leaves us with a balance right now that we have budgeted of about $20,000 remaining in our contract with Woodward. And through the efforts also of the sheriff, you should have a copy of a letter basically with the GBI. We have tried to arrange, and they have agreed with the sheriff to make available. You'll see 6 vehicles there. These are not new, but they're late model vehicles, Tahoes, Expeditions, Durango, Suburban. And they have a price range. You'll see that off to the side. It's a minimum, maximum price that they'll sell at, depending on the number of vehicles we purchase. Will, in large measure, determine the price, but it will be within that range. And again, these are vehicles that the sheriff has agreed to take one of these vehicles and actually use it in lieu of purchasing anything now. This will get him, at least at a minimum through this year, providing a work detail vehicle. And he has highlighted through budget discussions, you know, the many of the vehicles he has that are aging or whatever for his investigators. These vehicles would suffice. They're not pursuit vehicles, and they would actually serve to swap out those as opposed to purchasing new vehicles at a future time. So you're looking at a total cost in the neighborhood, if they went on all 6 vehicles at the max price that they're asking, it would be about $24,000 total. And you probably have that 123. And then the figure, the $19,749.98 is actually what's remaining in the budget for the rest of this year. A median price for those 6 vehicles will get you real close to that $19,000. So it's a kind of a way to fund this without having to come up with any additional money. He will provide an officer through the rest of this year at no additional cost. And then through our budget, we've addressed the requirement for an additional officer if we choose to go this route. So what we're first order of detail here, though, with respect to I want to present the vehicle information just for additional information, but it's really the decision on whether we want to continue our arrangement with the Department of Corrections for that work detail. And again, basically, a motion would be to approve or deny the contract with the Department of Corrections.
What kind of mileage on those vehicles?
They do have miles on them. They're all highway.
High miles or
they're decent. They're decent. And I don't have the actual numbers, but my guess is you're probably looking at about 100,000 at least on them.
I think they were around 50, I think, 60.
Yeah.
That's
I actually went up and looked at them, and picked out those 6. They got like 130 to 170 on them. But it being for the investigators, they're not like the road deputies. They own the road constantly. Yeah, they go out of town every once in a while. This will work for them for the money. Like I say, it'll save you a lot of money doing it this way. And the truck we looked at for the work detail truck was anywhere from $30,000 to $37,000. So by doing this, I mean, we take one of them take out Suburban, just 3/4 ton, we can use it, put the inmates in, put a trailer behind it, and be safe.
But I did notice in the past, that new cars are given to the investigators, and that wasn't right. That wasn't right. I'm gonna make a motion to scrap that agreement. Don't read.
I'll second it.
I have a,
With the bridge, don't I?
yeah. So I have a motion to end to terminate our detailed agreement with the Department of Corrections. I have a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
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 Very good. And then, we'll have the opportunity tomorrow, at our work session, we can talk more about these other people. I wanted to at least make you aware of this.
Don't you think it may be time, are they holding them, or?
If we could,
They've actually hold them for us.
Okay.
and I said if we could get word back to them collectively by tomorrow, whenever, if you decide to do that, we can act on it.
But there is other agencies looking at it, we don't really know something.
All right. Roads update, as I believe all of you are aware, we received our application, and that was an item that we were going to talk about tomorrow as well, as far as potential projects and the way ahead on that. So, any other issues or roads updates?
Alan put stop signs up, supposed to already get put up, but they just, I kind of fell through the cracks and got those up. I think every family on the road called me to tell me thank you for looking after their kids. I told them, oh, good work with.
Very good. Any other update? Does anybody have an urgent matter? All right, statements from remarks from citizens. If anybody's got any parting shots that they'd like to make, entertain that, please.
Good evening, Chairman and board members. Rich Justin, 8217 Highway 172. And I've been here before. And the reason I'm here tonight is I saw in the paper after the original determination was made on the fertilizer manufacturing plant next door to me that's owned by Smith Land and Cattle at 8315 Highway 172 that might be open for another determination. So I wanted to just spend a few minutes and go through a couple of items with you. And Rhonda, I apologize, I'll give you my copy when I'm done if it doesn't make it around. If you just take a copy and pass it around. Actually, I need one of those back. Thank you.
Hold up, Mr. Johnson.
And page one, and actually, if we're good, Jim, there's an extra here.
I'm not really sure why this is opened back up again after the determination was made that a manufacturing plant did not belong in the A1 zone. But for whatever reason, the paper says that it's up for another determination. So I wanted to go over a few points with you about what has already kind of been said and some things that have not. But by definition, it is a manufacturing processing facility next door. Mr. Smith has multiple mechanical machines, conveyors, and an assembly line set up to process raw chicken manure into a finished organic fertilizer that's 1/8 inch in diameter. And this comes right off of Griffin Environmental's website where he purchased the equipment. He will be mechanically transforming raw waste into a finished organic fertilizer product. Underneath you see manufacturing processing facility. This is Madison County's own definition that says the mechanical or chemical transformation of materials or substances into new products. There's no doubt that he is taking a raw product, which is chicken manure, and it's being converted, transformed into a finished organic fertilizer. That is a different product than the original product. The land uses engaged in these activities are usually described as plants, factories, or mills, and characteristically use power-driven machines and material handling equipment. Again, that building is full of equipment. I know that the inspector has been out there and has taken pictures. I've seen those pictures, and it's a massive amount of equipment, mechanical equipment that's going to be used. This is not just taking manure and laying it up on a machine to dry. This thing is a mechanical process that it's going to go through to get an organic fertilizer. Mechanical equipment is part of that definition under the county codes. Equipment or devices installed for use are pertinent to the primary use. Once again, mechanical equipment is being used to produce an end product. The manufacturer of the equipment, Griffin Environmental, makes the following statements on their website and on their videos. A, rapid manufacturing and installation. I mean, that's what the guy that makes the equipment, the owner of the company, says, is that this is about manufacturing, and we can do it quickly. B, Griffin converts chicken waste into organic fertilizer. That is an article that was published on his site, and you guys can go there. Griffin Environmental. It's easy to pull up. The Smith fertilizer manufacturing plant violates the county's minimum setback requirements of 200 feet on two of my lot lines on the south side, as well as on the west side of my property. And I've got a survey. This survey was completed today by Savannah Lakes Land Surveying Company. And you can take a look at that and reference it as we go through it. Everybody got a copy? So you can take a look at the survey plat that he did. You can see where it says Justin on two sides. The Justin that is closest to the bottom of the page would be the south property line. The Justin on the left-hand side of the page would be the west property line. And there is a dwelling unit he put on here, mobile home. It's a dwelling unit that is there that is also marked on the survey plat. And if you look and see on on the south and west side, the south side is measuring 133.12 feet and 160.96 feet in the 2 points that he measured from the property line to the fertilizer facility. Neither one of those meets the minimum setback of 200 feet. And I might add and suggest that with the changes that are going to be happening here shortly, the county's moving to 600 feet from the property lines and 1,000 feet from an exhaust end. So the smell that's going to come from this fertilizer plant is horrific. And I don't know if any of you have made the change or gone up yourselves and looked at what's going on in Rose Acres. But it's not a nice sight, and it's a horrific smell, and it's definitely going to ruin our quality of life. If you look at the west property line to your far left, that measures 164.14 feet. So again, he doesn't meet the minimum on the south or the west property line. And finally, if you look at the dwelling unit, it measures 220.84 feet. The county requires a setback of 400 feet minimum. So he's barely half. He doesn't meet that. Doesn't even come close to meeting that minimum setback. So again, I'm here tonight to make a petition that the original determination letter, which I believe was correct, that this is a manufacturing facility, all the NAICS codes endorse that is what it is. This can't be twisted any other way. it is what it is. It's a manufacturing plant, and he's not meeting the minimum setbacks. So I just wanted, again, to remind, petition the board and you, Chairman, to stand firm on the original determination letter.
All right, thank you, Richard.
Any questions?
Appreciate you doing that.
Yes, sir.
Good information.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other remarks or statements from anybody here tonight? Executive session?
Yes, sir, threatened or pending litigation.
So folks, we're going to, I'm not sure the right term is adjourn momentarily, but we're going to go and enter into executive session. You're welcome to stay around.
Need a motion?
I'm sorry, do I have a motion?
We go into executive session.
I have a motion to enter into executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second.
Yes. Yes.
Approve the minutes from our executive session. A motion to approve? Motion to approve the minutes of the executive session. And I have a second. Anybody have any discussion on that? Now we'll start with Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay, there. Now motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Second?
Yes.
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 And Teresa? I got it. Thank you.